Just put a label on it, even if it doesn't change the circumstance. Because there's so much about this moment that is trying to make people feel like they've lost their minds. When in fact, these motherfuckers are crazy.
They are. They are crazy. I agree with you, Kamala. I agree with you, Kamala Harris. They are crazy. We've not lost our minds. Yelling a slur during two talents' greatest night, one of the greatest nights that they'll have, Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo, is disgraceful. But let's give the person his doctor's note. Let's say, okay, it's the Tourette's, it's not him. Why do I have to be subjected to that when I wasn't in the auditorium? I wasn't at the venue. So why is that playing out live over the air when it's something that actually could have been edited? I'm hearing there were other outbursts that they could have edited. And in the way it was handled with Alan Cummings, I'm looking at you, Alan. I'm watching you on Traders. I get a lot of joy out of you on Traders. The way this was handled, where it's apologized to the audience, disgraceful. We're going to go through a little bit of what happened. And this is after the insult. Delroy Lindo wishes someone from BAFTA, that's the British Film Association, is kind of like our Oscars, or the Oscars. I won't even claim the Oscars. Someone from BAFTA spoke to us after N-word was shouted while he and Michael B. Jordan presented. We did what we had to do, and we know what they did. They continued on with the presentation with look of hurt on each one of their faces. So Delroy spoke to Vanity Fair at one of the 2026 BAFTA after parties, said he and Center's co-star, Michael B. Jordan, did what we have to do when the N-word was shouted out as they were presenting the award for Best Visual Effects to Avatar, Fire and Ash. So that's where he wished that someone had spoken to them. So the only apology given was given to the actual audience. That tells me a lot. That tells me actually a lot. And it's really disgraceful and disgusting. And I wish, I can't tell anyone else how to act. They've really worked to get to that place where they get to be in the room and accept an award, give awards, meet their peers. There were a lot of industry people there that should be able to do that. But I would just like sometime us to teach people a lesson that they're not entitled to our presence. They're not entitled to that magic, that excellence. I wish when that slur was shouted out, the two of them had put down whatever paper they were reading, turn around, walk off the stage, and the rest of the Center's cast and every other person of color and people that look like them and allies, because I hear a lot from the allies, you claim you're there, but we don't see it. They had jumped up and walked out of that dry room and said, we'll be back, not next year, but the year after. Sit it out a year and let's see what BAFTA is and how it does without us in there. And what they do, what they get from that without the true presence of greatness in that room. I'm going to read a little bit more in Variety because I'm disgusted by the way Alan Cumming handled it. I don't know if that's something that he came up with himself or if some of the organizers came up with this. But BAFTA's host Alan Cumming asked for understanding as Tourette syndrome campaigner John Davidson shouts strong language. No, he said the N-word and slurs at winners and presenters. So he was actually doing that not just to Michael B. Jordan and to Delroy Lindo, but other people were subjected to it as well. So BAFTA Film Awards host, that's him right there. Very ugly looking. There's something wrong. I mean, and I'm not going to get on his disability, but there's something else going on there in addition. BAFTA Film Awards host Alan Cumming thanked the audience for their understanding on Sunday night after a number of outbursts. So he was doing it throughout the night. From Tourette's campaigner John Davidson during the show. So Mr. Delroy Lindo said nobody approached him after the show. So Alan Cumming, you're on stage apologizing to the audience and you didn't apologize to the people that this man has insulted? Davidson, who is the inspiration for a BAFTA-nominated movie, I Swear, was diagnosed with the syndrome at the age of 25. His symptoms, which first began when he was 12, include tics and uncontrollable outbursts, often involving cursing. Again, he said the N-word. A number of outbursts could be heard throughout the BAFTA ceremony, including "shut the F up" being shouted during an introductory speech from BAFTA chair Sarah Putt. Oh, so he insulted a woman, told her, shut the F up. And F you, when the directors of Boom, which won the BAFTA for Best Children's and Family Film. Were there children in that film and they get up there to accept their award and now they're being verbally assaulted by this man? Why wasn't he in another room watching this on a screen separate from the audience? And I don't want to hear anything about it, a disability. No, I have a right to not be assaulted by him. During another outburst, the audience inside the BAFTAs heard Davidson shout the N-word when Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo presented the award for Best Visual Effects to Avatar Fire and Ash. You may have noticed some strong language in the background. He said the N-word. So that is a slur. It's stronger than strong language. It's a slur that was used before someone generally would be killed. This can be part of how Tourette's syndrome shows up for some people as the film explores that experience coming toward the audience, which included the Prince and Princess of Wales. Prince William, I heard he sits on the BAFTA committee. Why didn't he pull them aside and apologize? They celebrity chasing every other time. Thanks for the understanding and helping create a respectful space for everyone. Later on in the ceremony, Cummins made a further statement saying, Tourette's syndrome is a disability and the tics you heard tonight are involuntary, which means the person who has Tourette's syndrome has no control whatsoever of their language. We apologize if you are offended tonight. I'm offended. Tonight and this morning, I'm offended. The outburst could not be heard in the second half of the ceremony when Davidson appeared to have left the room. They didn't put him out, y'all. He left. He voluntarily left, okay? Variety understands he left of his own accord. Oh, I'm ahead of the article. I'm going to editorialize, y'all. I'll editorialize. A source told Variety earlier that David was an invited guest and under no circumstance would he be asked to leave the ceremony. So, y'all, let's try to bring Will Smith as a plus one for these kind of events because his hands seem to have Tourette's and they can excuse him for any events that happen. The outbursts were not cut for broadcast of the ceremony, which went out with a 2-hour delay on BBC, one in the UK, and on E in the US. BAFTA did not immediately respond to Variety's request for comment. Before the ceremony began, the floor manager also introduced Davidson to the audience, saying, I'd like to welcome John Davidson, MBE, from one of our nominated films, I Swear. John has Tourette's syndrome, so please be aware you might hear some involuntary noises or movements during the ceremony. I Swear features Lord of the Rings of Power star Robert Aramayo as Davidson, following him at the age of 25 after his appearance in the seminal BBC documentary, John's Not Mad, which first introduced Tourette's to a wider audience. The film, which was directed, written, and produced by Kirk Jones, is set up for 5 BAFTAs, including Best Leading Actors for Aramayo, Best Supporting Actor for his co-star Peter Mullen, Best Original Screenplay. He lost that because Ryan Coogler won that, okay? And Casting the later, which it won. Oh, so he won the casting one. The film is also competing for Outstanding British Film. Aramayo was also awarded BAFTA's EE Rising Star Award on Sunday night. Connecting his award, Aramayo said, John Davidson's the most remarkable man I've ever met. He's so forthcoming with education. He believes there should be still so much more we need to learn about Tourette's. Especially, I just want to say for people who are living with Tourette's, it's the buzz around them that help define what their experience is. So to quote the film, they need support and understanding. Since Davidson went public with his diagnosis 4 decades ago, a number of public figures have revealed they suffer from the syndrome, for which there's no cure. They include Billie Eilish and Louis Capaldi. I didn't know that about Billie Eilish. So Billie Eilish is not actually at the Grammys screaming out the N-word. I don't know what she does to control hers, or maybe that's not something that's in her vocabulary. In a statement to Variety before the ceremony, Emma McNally, CEO of support and research charity Tourette's Action, said, we've had a huge amount of people reach out to us about I Swear, both individuals living with Tourette's syndrome and those with no previous connection to the condition. All have been deeply affected by the film. It's clearly created a huge public reaction. Viewers have told us that seeing John's real story portrayed with such depth and honesty has given them a far more accurate understanding of what Tourette's can look like and how it affects the individual. This is something they've given little thought to previously. We're hopeful that as more people talk openly and more accurate on-screen representations appear, we'll continue moving forward toward a more inclusive and understanding society for everyone living with Tourette's. That's a nice goal for the people living with Tourette's. But I would just like to say this. I think how they handle this situation, how they handle any further apologies is going to be really important as to how people feel about accepting someone with Tourette's in their space. Meaning, what do you do in a situation like this where a group has been offended and now no real apology has been given because he basically submitted a doctor's note? And people are saying, well, you have to excuse what he's done because he didn't mean to do it because he has Tourette's. So, I don't know. I don't like how it was handled. I don't like the hurt that I saw on Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo's face. They didn't deserve that. I don't like the fact that I found out about it yesterday and it upset me. I read more on it this morning and it still upset me. And now knowing that the BBC, who aired with the 2-hour delay, cut out other outbursts related to political statements because they didn't want people to hear those, but did not cut out this particular slur directed at 2 men that were there to be honored and there to honor others at their craft, I find despicable. I find it really hurtful. And I think this is a big part of why a lot of Black people are saying, you got it. We're going to give you time to see what it's like without us and let us sit back a while. Because honestly, if I had a choice between John Davidson, let me not say what I was getting ready to say, or Michael B. Jordan or Delroy Lindo to sit at my table, whether they were saying anything or not, I know who I would choose because there's nothing stopping this man from at this point saying, okay, I have this condition. Absolutely, that's not my intent, but I apologize for the hurt that's been caused. And I haven't heard anything like that from him. I don't understand why, at the very least, that is not something that we're hearing. So that I don't understand that. If somebody can explain it to me, I'd like to know. But that is what is going on right now as far as BAFTA and the conversation that we're having after. I can't wait to see what's going to happen if this same film is up for Oscar. I haven't looked at it. I don't think he should be invited. If he is invited, I think he should be in a separate room watching it. And for people to say, oh, what if the person had another disability? They were blind. A blind person is not going to be allowed to just walk around and crash into people without somebody leading them around. Stevie Wonder gets led around, and we've known he's blind for over 70 years. But he has a handler with him. He doesn't get to just walk around and crash into people and knock people down. And you say, well, this person knocked me down. Well, that's Stevie Wonder. He couldn't see you, so he knocked you down. He didn't mean it. You got to have compassion. No, Stevie Wonder makes sure he has a handler with him and he's not walking around crashing into people or, heaven forbid, getting in a car and driving. I'm Stevie Wonder. I'm going to drive around. It's my disability. No, you take precautions so that other people are not negatively impacted by your disability, John Davidson. For you to get up and leave, I'm sorry, I don't care what kind of doctor's note you had. I would have looked you right in your face and told you that is disgraceful. You need to seek those 2 young men out, and Delroy Lindo, not 2 young men, but 2 men. Seek them out and apologize because that is hurtful. The look on their face impacted me. And it really had it gave me a strong reaction just to see it. And the more I read about it, I'm going to have to stop reading about it because it's making me more upset. Because there's no way in the world that those 2 should feel like that on one of the greatest nights of their lives to celebrate one of the greatest projects either one has ever been in, which is Sinners. Ryan Coogler got an original screenplay award, and he happened to be the first Black man to ever get that. And he got up there, he gave a beautiful speech. He recounted the first time he was in the United Kingdom. The cab driver turned off the meter and took him to Marcus Garvey's apartment. The person, Wunmi Masaka, she's there, she's glowing, she's pregnant. She received a BAFTA for her portrayal of Annie, which was the, I believe, wife to Smoke and mother of his child in the movie. and a very talented worker of, I don't want to call it rude, I can't remember what they called it, but was amazing character. She won Best Supporting Actress. I hope this translates into Oscars for them. They actually have a record number, I believe it's 16. And if this other film of this man is up, they need to seriously take some precautions. And if he does do this outburst, which seems to be on brand for him. Now, Billie Eilish was there. She sang that "What Am I Made Of," the Barbie song. I can't remember if she won or not, but I didn't hear her hollering out and calling people slurs at the Oscars. So whatever kind of precautions they took for her, maybe they'll take for him. But I'm looking at him with a side eye, y'all. I don't know whether or not all that is even real. I'm not an ableist. I don't knock people if they have disabilities. I admire their strength to get out in the world and to control themselves. But I was thinking of a person who a few years ago had a disability. He was neurodivergent. His name was Elijah McClain. And he was walking home. He might have had a hoodie on. It was cold. I know he had on headphones. And he was either dancing to music or just having his ears covered with the headphones. And he was pulled over by police. Medics were called on him. He was shot up with ketamine. He was killed. And he was on tape begging for his life. I'm just walking home. I'm just different. So if you look a certain way, you don't get people pampering you and coddling you and asking for understanding. You might get a knee in your neck and get ketamine pumped into you. So this person has made it over 60 years being able to yell out slurs at people. I'm blaming BAFTA and BBC more so than him, because I'm not going to get anywhere blaming him. But this was a trip, everybody. If you haven't seen it, all you have to do is pull up Threads, pull up IG, pull up TikTok, and there's a lot of think pieces on it. I believe that was Variety. Yes, Variety, the article that I just read. Alan Cumming, you getting on my nerves. I don't like the statement that he gave. I don't know if he wrote it or ChatGPT wrote it or someone else gave it to him, but it didn't do enough for me. And I hope Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo were able to move on, enjoy the rest of their night. I saw them sitting together, but that was really a painful moment for both of them and for their coworkers, because they've become a family and they love each other. Everybody was there. Miles Caton was there, the young man who played Sammy. As I told you, Wunmi just won an award. Haley Steinfeld, I'm not sure if she was up for an award for Mary or not. She is pregnant as well. They're almost the same amount of time along. So just to look at that and listen to that, terrible. Ryan Coogler, his wife Zenzi Coogler, producer of the film, everybody was there. So BAFTA, the BBC, they need to make that right. And again, this is just a little Sandra P's Gen Extra, one of my extras. I have a few more extras topics because I'm off today and I can come to you and talk to you. I'll do a live. So I'll talk to you down in the chat, but I'll do a live so I can actually engage with the chat in real time. We'll have a few topics that we'll talk about, things to get off my chest and things that I like to hear from the chat about. And that will probably be later on today. I'll decide what time to schedule it, but you'll have enough notice to get in here if you have time. And Team Replay, please do me a favor and click the like button. If you're not already subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. And if you see that new hype feature, consider using it for me. I would appreciate that so much. And everybody, thank you for joining me at Sandra P's Gen Extra. I will see you in the YouTube streets. Goodbye, everybody.